Sons of the Forest is still in early access, and this means there's actually going to be lots of things coming to this game in the next coming months. The developers recently completed a Q&A, and there's lots of interesting subjects. So one of the first questions is talking about how Kelvin and Virginia scale poorly into the late game. Will the developer allow the player to give them more commands or other things to do, and will we see more companions in the future that add more variety? And the answer to this is we have big plans to keep adding tasks to Kelvin. Some ideas that are in progress right now are having him help construct a wall around your base, or fortify and repair the base when needed. For Virginia, we plan to add more AI, particularly giving her more bravery if she has a weapon, which may depend on how many mutants or cannibals she has killed. So there's going to be some stuff coming to your companions in Sons of the Forest. Who is the character that we play as? Will we get more lore about them? And yes, there's going to be lore and story pickups that will add extra cutscenes and new areas that will work to expand and flesh out the story. Are we going to see an improved gore or dismemberment system? And the answer is that's not currently something that they're working on. What's happened to the various scrapped ideas of the game, such as Kelvin's name originally being Robbie, and the night vision goggles, solar panels, climbing axe and battery charger, etc. And the answer to this is, well, there's lots of features that are partially in or will be coming in future patches. Kelvin himself actually had a few different names over the course of development, and apparently he was originally called Zombie Boy, then Robbie, and then they settled on Kelvin. So you can bet your bottom dollar that there'll be more items coming to this game. Do they plan on adding any kinds of faster transport to the Sons of the Forest game? And they tease us here that they say they have a real cool idea for this, but they're not going to go into details just yet. What are the plans to tackle cheating and griefing? We've seen forms of griefing such as killing companions and other players. They say this is always really tricky. Our hope as developers is that people just be nice to each other, but unfortunately that isn't what happens. We added the trusted system as a base tool to handle playing in public open servers. We will also be looking at some new ways to limit griefing risks and expand tools as host. And the next question is, are we going to see a roadmap for Sons of the Forest? And they say, well, we don't want to promise features that might not make it into the game, but we also like surprising players with cool story that they might not be expecting. They do read all the comments and the feature requests and stuff like that, and they're going to try and implement the best fitting ideas. Will there be an expansion to the crafting system? Currently what you can actually craft is very limited, and the answer here is that there will be more new items to craft, and as they see what players want, then they will start adding these to the game. The next question is whether or not they plan to improve the pacing of the game, and they say, we have a bunch of ideas we are currently discussing internally, but don't have a perfect solution. We do all agree that this is an issue, and some players are just running all the way to the ending instead of living and existing in the world. Will there be more building options? Currently the freeform building, while very unique, is also very limited in what you can actually do, such as the ghost blueprints. There will be new ghosts added, and there will be improvements and extensions to the freeform system. And the next question asks, will there be more enemies or mutants? And then they answer saying we have at least one character that wasn't ready for the first launch, and then there will maybe be others we will add over time, including variations of some of the current enemies. The next question asks, cannibal camps are currently very small, and other than fighting the player, the cannibals don't actually do a lot when it comes to their own communities. Will we see an expansion of their camps added over time? And the answer, we do have plans for this, adding more ambient actions for the cannibals to do around their villages, and also visual improvements such as more types of structures they can live in to give the different camps more variety. The next question asks when we'll get dedicated servers, and their answer is we're working on that in the background, but we don't have an exact date right now, which is a little bit unfortunate. Does the team plan to add additional building materials and a robust crafting / cooking system? And they say we do have a prototype of a more advanced cooking system, and it will likely come into the game in a future patch once it's further developed. And the next one is quite important. What will the bi-weekly updates look like? Will it be quality of life things, or will we see the additional of new things and improvements? And they answer this by saying we will likely alternate between 2 to 4 week patches, depending on what we are trying to get in the game. Each patch will include different things, from furthering the story or cutscenes and stuff like that, to new features and items along with lots of bug fixes and other improvements. Has the success of Sons of the Forest made the team evaluate how far they want to take the game and maybe push back the 1.0 release? We have a rough estimate of 6 to 8 months, but we will be constantly re-evaluating as the development progresses. We really just want to make the coolest game possible. The developers said before that they wanted to do a DLC and a workshop. Is the workshop still a priority, and is DLC still planned post-launch? We should be able to talk about this more further into the early access period. is what they say. Will the island/environment be expanded upon to make it more challenging? There will be updates to the environment throughout the early access period, is what they say. And the next question, which is very important, will the log sled make a return? This is one of the real cool things about early access. Internally, we didn't realize how much people really liked the log sled, and due to the amount of bugs it had in the first game, we were not sure it was worth putting back in or not. But in the last week since release, it's becoming clear that this is something players miss. That's all they say, but obviously they're going to add that, right? It just makes sense. If you want to be kept up to date with Sons of the Forest, then make sure you check out mmowiki.com. There will be a link in the description, and you can always subscribe to this YouTube channel.